All right, today we're talking Mets pitching. We got Tyler Ward, your favorite Mets content creator, not pitching in the rotation anytime soon, but he is in studio. What's up, my guy?
How you
Appreciate
doing,
you coming back in, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's start with the elephant in the room, Sean Manaea. We've talked about his shaky season before. He hasn't been able to give this team neither length nor be effective. I guess, is it time to address the obvious? Should Sean Manaea still be in the rotation?
No, he shouldn't still be in this rotation. That's a problem that I have, right? Because we saw Mets skipper Carlos Mendoza post-game last night at the time I was talking right now, saying how he will be in the next turn in the order for the rotation. And on one hand, you say to yourself, you understand it because the Mets are so depleted right now. You already sent down Kodai Senga. All your veterans aren't performing. They can't rely on too many kids at the same time. But in that same breath, Sean Manaea is 3-8 or so this season. Yep. He hasn't went to the sixth inning once. He's allowed 2 home runs in 3 of his 5 outings or so, which has not looked good at all. So when you look at what he's providing, this is a guy that needs surgery at the end of the year with that loose body in his elbow. I think it's time to put him on the injured list now. I really don't see how much more the Mets are going to benefit by having almost a lock for a guy that's going to be giving them meatballs, batting practice over 3 to tops 5 innings every 5th, 6th day. And that's why this 6-man rotation, I really do wonder if the Mets, after maybe one more blunder in Manaea, finally say to themselves, okay, now's the time that we're going to take him out. It should have happened probably 2 starts prior at minimum, but I feel that they're going to go down that route unless Sean finally proves himself the next time out there.
I got a stat here for you. It says that early in the first 3 innings, he has a 3.0 ERA, but then he through 4 through 6, he has a 10.34 ERA. So why, if you're Carlos Mendoza, why are you even still entertaining Sean Manaea being a starter in this rotation?
I think it goes in direct hand with what I just said. They don't really have any options left. That's the problem. You already called up McLean. You already called up Tong. You already called up Sproat. All the guys that we talked in studio about previously before they got here, they're all doing their thing for the most part. But outside that, the Mets don't really have another immediate solution in the farm right now. And when you look at not just Manaea's struggles, when you look at Kodai Senga's struggles, when you look at David Peterson, when you look at Clay Holmes, the commonalities, every single veteran starter in this rotation has not been good for pretty much a month and a half now. And that's a major problem when you now have right around 2 weeks to spare to play, and you're just 2 games ahead now of the Giants in the wild card.
You never say that in sports, that the vets are struggling and the young guys are the ones that are exciting and picking up the slack. So in comes McLean, Tong, and Sproat. We've seen what these guys have kind of done in a short sample size. They're getting ready for some big baseball to play in October. But which one of these rookie starters, because you kind of put me on to all 3 of them, which one of these rookie starters are you excited to see develop the most and pitch in the postseason?
Out of the 3, has to be the guy that's been the best right now. That's McLean, right?
Okay.
He was the guy who got the call first, and what separated McLean from Tong and Sproat, granted, Sproat has only had 1 start so far, so I can't really say much negativity on his part. He's looked good. But McLean, even in his worst outing, I was in attendance in Philadelphia 48 hours ago, he still won 5 innings of 1 earned run baseball. Right now, that would still be the best out of any starter for the Mets. Like, that's how low the bar is. They're not getting length, but even when he is not giving you that much length, he's still giving you quality in a day where he gave up 7 hits, got out of a couple jams. McLean has been that guy, and I think in a very Jacob deGrom-esque fashion, because that was the former ace for this Mets rotation from a couple seasons ago, who the Mets will, funny enough, face this weekend against the Rangers. The Mets never scored runs for Jacob deGrom. They never gave run support offensively when they had great pitching. It's fitting that McLean has his first career loss and a 1-0 defeat. If there's anything that we've seen from the past, is that is clearly the making of an ace for this Mets team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, he went 8 innings in his 3rd start against the Phillies, and that's what you're saying. Like, these guys are providing length, and I wonder, is it just because it's like the new kids are on the block and the older guys just don't have as much juice in their arms or just don't have it in their game anymore? But that is something that I definitely want to keep an eye on, because you're going into the postseason and 3 of your starters in the rotation all your age, bro.
Yeah, it's actually some younger. Tom's 22. He's a baby.
That's absolutely crazy to me. Yeah. All right, but in talking about the reliever situation, who in the bullpen do you trust most as a setup guy for Edwin Diaz?
That's a great question. There's a couple players that come to mind that I think I trust the most in a setup situation, but right away, the guy that's been most reliable for this Mets team outside of Edwin right now has been Brooks Raley. He's one of our lefty relievers. Gregory Soto, Tyler Rogers, those are really the main high leverage guys the Mets have. Ryan Helsley has a lot more work to do before we can start to rely on him as that setup man. But Raley, he's only allowed earned runs in, I believe, 2 out of his first north of 20 outings this season. So he has been as advertised. In Game 1 in that loss to the Phillies, he had 1 pitch, 1 out on Schwarber and Harper. Fast forward a day later, the Mets utilized Justin Hageman to face Schwarber and Harper.
Yep.
We see Schwarber hit his 50th home run of the season, and Harper doesn't do too much. But the point is that you have a quality lefty that can go out there and not just carve up some of the best lefty batters in the National League. He can take out righties without a problem as well.
Helsley, you mentioned him. You talked about him kind of being reliable and all, but he did go through that issue of the whole tipping pitches thing. Carlos Mendoza has said that they've fixed that. 1, do you believe that? 2, do you trust Ryan Helsley?
Do I trust Ryan Helsley yet? No, I don't.
No.
I will say the only way that I do trust him is if I attend every game that he's in, because his 3 best games, I've been in attendance for all of them.
Oh, so it's you.
It's clearly me.
Okay.
It all
Luck
makes
of the
sense
Wardy.
now. I know,
Okay.
luck of the Wardy. So in a Wardy world this year, Ryan Helsley pitches well when he otherwise hasn't, but the Mets still lose the ball games.
That's how you campaign for free tickets right there.
Seriously.
I like what you're doing there.
Exactly. But in a serious note, in Helsley, the big problem with him has not only been tipping pitches. We've seen a lot of people come out with great pieces on this, but Trevor May, former Mets reliever, actually came out with a breakdown on YouTube a couple days ago that I implore people to check out, as he really broke down in depth exactly how Helsley's tipping his pitches. And you're seeing the difference in his hands, especially in how he brings them up, and obviously getting the release point of the difference from his fastball to his slider. And as Helsley has said it himself, the media, he's doing this subconsciously. So that's the problem. He's not doing this while thinking. It's just naturally happening.
Wow.
And he's had tipping issues in the past while facing the Cubs, he said, but nothing has been nearly as egregious to this degree. Like, sometimes there are teams out there that know exactly every single pitch he's throwing. Thankfully, the last time he pitched against the Phillies, he looked much sharper, had a scoreless inning. Hopefully that's a step in the right direction for him, because if he does not get himself right and fast, Ryan Helsley is going to quickly find himself as a non-factor in this Mets bullpen when they trade for him to, again, be exactly that true setup man, a dominant reliever, the guy who led all of baseball in saves last year with just under 60 for the Cardinals, to be that setup man for Edwin Diaz.
So let's say something happens in the postseason. They lose a game and it comes out that whoever it is that they played was able to read him. He tipped his pitch again. Who would the fan base be more upset with? Helsley for not subconsciously fixing this thing, or Carlos Mendoza for putting him out there and telling people that he's fixed?
That's a great question. You know, when it comes to fandom, it's a results-oriented business. So if we're going to see Helsley get blown up, I think that you're going to see a fair divide of fans being bothered at Helsley while fans being bothered at Mendy. But I think
the New York fans not
I know.
going through some sort of divide.
You could be 10-1, but because you're not 11-0, there's going to be a problem. You understand?
Yeah.
So I think in the concept of what's happening with Helsley in that playoff spot, one, is he in a high leverage or a low leverage situation, right? And how had he performed up to that point? If he started to get in a groove and finally looked more like himself in, say, his final 4-5 outings that led him to get that opportunity, and then he blundered, that isn't as much on Mendy as it is on him for not stepping up when he finally looked like he was getting himself right. Now, if he doesn't look good, if he continues to scuffle and be as inconsistent as he's been heading into postseason, and then you utilize him in, say, a one-run ball game, he gets blown up in a high leverage spot, then that is on Carlos Mendoza, whether we like it or not, because he's the man making that decision. And if he gets blown up when the track record hasn't been there, well, color me shocked. Ryan Helsley isn't pitching great baseball. So then I think that's where you really have to emphasize the focus on this was not a great move by Mets manager.
Well, at least you have some sort of formula when it comes to who would you point your finger at.
Absolutely.
But again,
I yap about people every single day, so I got to figure out if it makes sense because he made the wrong decision or if he made the wrong decision, you know?
My guy, Edwin Diaz, he's the Mets' Mariano Rivera, I feel like. And I know a lot of Yankees are going to push back on me for that. It was Inner Sandman in the Bronx. We got the Trumpets in Queens. He's had some ups and downs throughout his career, but right now he is absolutely on fire. So what are you seeing from Edwin Diaz that's telling you that he is one of the best, if not the best closer in the business right now?
Two things. One, it's a walk year. If there's one thing that we know about a lot of pitchers, when they're in contract years, they're either going to make it or they're going to break it. Okay. And he's making it right now. You know, the same way that we saw a couple years ago in his 2022 season for the Mets, as he was the best reliever in baseball, which led him to having the largest contract in baseball for a reliever of $100+ million. Now that he's in another walk year because he has an opt-out at the end of the year, we're seeing Edwin Diaz at his best. And it's the most fascinating thing about him is that he really feels like he needs to face adversity to have most success. Almost every single save that he has had this year, it's felt like he's had at least the leadoff runner gets on with a walk or a single, or there's a double somehow, and he's finding himself in an early jam. It's like he needs that early pressure to lock in and then give you some FU fastballs right away, 101 up and in, going to get your slider down and away, those righties, whatever the case may be. He has the poise, he has the composure, but this is a guy who's been pretty dominant for a good stretch of time now. Like, he had a 60-save season back in 2018 with the Mariners as a youngster. When he first came to the Mets, he was horrendous his first year and a half. Like, batting practice just could not handle the pressure. All fans are saying, oh no, this guy can't handle New York. But he's a great example of a player that took that adversity, that took the outcry from the fans, and actually used it for the better. He got better every single season from 2019 to 2020 to 2021 to his breakout 2022 season. Unfortunately, was out all 2023 with injury. 2024 last year, he was good and pumped up big time in playoffs. Yep. And now again, we're seeing Edwin eerily similar to what we saw a couple seasons ago.
You hear that, Devin Williams? You know,
Devin's still shook by Alonso's home run last wild card. That's the problem.
Absolutely crazy how one guy can thrive playing here in New York and another guy can kind of just go through it. You know,
right.
It's just weird watching that two different guys having two different successes or types of successes. Final award, Rorty. Look in your one shot. Let the people know, tell the people final award.
Okay, final word from me. It's going to be more than one word here, but the Mets got to lock in. You know, I've been saying this how long? It feels like the entire season. It's do or die time. It's put up or shut up. There is no margin for error, yet this team continues to find themselves making errors and not winning baseball games. If the Mets really want to actually have themselves make something of this season, now is the time for them to start to win consistent baseball. Without that, I think we're reaching a closer reality that they're not going to make playoffs than actually making playoffs, which is a very frustrating thing to say as a fan, but I just hope that they can right this ship now before it's too late.
All right, man. Appreciate you coming in the
Thank
studio,
you,
my guy.
Really appreciate you.